begin. Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we come before you and ask that you will please be with us and help us to stay awake and help us to get the maximum value and understanding, Lord. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so first, this is a story of a lady. She was a principal of an Adventist school in India. She's about my height, and she's about double my weight, about 100 kilos. And the few months previous, she was really struggling. She had gotten so sick, she had a heart condition. She could hardly walk from the entrance to this door without puffing and having pain. And then somebody told her that we were having a Next Maker Heals program, and she said, okay, I'm going to go. She said when she was at home, she was in such bad condition that she was like sitting on the couch, laying on the couch, and she couldn't get up. Even though she wanted to go drink water, right? She couldn't get up for like 3 hours. That's how bad she was. Well, she came, and her husband is half her size. Yeah, he's like, very skinny. He's like 50-something kilos, right? A very interesting couple, very sweet. But anyway, she came, and all the attendees, they were supposed to be staying in the dormitory on the top of the hill. So they are going up and down the hill, but there's no way that she could stay there. And so they had to find another accommodation for her. And when she came into the lecture room, she said, I'm so sorry, I cannot sit in those chairs. Is it okay if I put a mat and lay down and listen? I really want to listen. I really want to learn. I said, sure, no problem. And so she faithfully listened. Well, it was in this lecture that we were talking about fasting where she was really, really convicted. She realized that even though she had been a Christian, she had an idol. As Christians, we don't think we have idols. We're not worshiping a statue. We're not praying to the gods. We're not praying to images. But she realized that she had an idol. And she repented. And with tears, she repented. And said, Lord, if you let me live, I vow to you that for the rest of my life, I will serve you. Well, during the 10 days, she followed everything. She did some water fasting together with a little bit of fruit fasting. She ended up losing 9 kilos in the 10 days. And this is what she looks like. Now, not everyone needs to lose 9 kilos in 10 days. You shouldn't all want to do that, right? But she had excess weight. She was obese. And she was able to lose that weight. By the end of it, she was able to walk without having the pain. She was able to go up the hill even to that dormitory. She was so happy. She was so excited. She said, thank you so much. And she's like, I don't have a lot of money, but here's just a little bit of money. Buy a nice little outfit, And then she started giving money to the different facilitators and the owner of the place. And she said, from now on, my life is going to be lived for God. How did this happen? How did this happen in just 10 days? How many days did Jesus fast in the wilderness? How many? 40 days. How would you like to fast for 40 days? Anybody struggling with fasting for the first day? Anyone extremely hungry? Yeah, not yet? All right, good. When you are fasting, make sure to, number 1, when you're hungry, pray. Then number 2, what do you think? Drink water. Okay? So pray for strength from the Lord. And then number 2, drink water so that your stomach feels like there's something there. And you start to feel better. Okay, Jesus fasted for 40 days. That's nearly 6 weeks. And Ellen White tells us that the length of this fast is the strongest evidence of the extent of the sinfulness and power of debased appetite upon the human family. Wow. Jesus saw that appetite was going to be such a problem that he did the fasting for us. That's why we don't need to fast for 40 days, because he's done it. He's overcome appetite. He has overcome passion. He's overcome everything for us. And now, as we submit to him and take his strength, we can have the same power. Now look at this quote. It's very sobering. It says, "Many who profess godliness do not inquire into the reason of Christ's long period of fasting and suffering in the wilderness. His anguish was not so much from enduring the pains of hunger as from his sense of the fearful result of the indulgence of appetite and passion upon the race. He knew that appetite would be, what is it? Man's idol." This is where the lady had the conviction. I didn't think I was an idolater, but appetite has been my idol. Appetite has been my master, been controlling me. If God is not your master, then the alternative is that Satan is our master. And along with Satan being master, it plays in together with us being our own master, right? If it's God as master or everyone else, God there, if it's me being the master, then whose side are we on? On Satan's side. He knew that appetite would be man's idol and would lead him to forget God. I like to tell people the story about my culture. When Koreans have a big party, a big feast, or celebration, the tables are overladen with lots and lots of food. It's like not just one table, many tables, right? When you go and get your plate and you stand in line, do you think about God? You're thinking about the delicious food there. Oh, I can't wait to eat this and this and this and this and this and this. And then your plate comes out and it's also a mountain. And then you go back for seconds. And then they have dessert. Oh, mercy. When appetite is that strong, then we forget God. But what would happen, even at church potlucks? There's so many varieties of food. What would happen if we went there remembering God? And we have our plate, we remember God, we remember his health principles, moderation. That instead of taking everything, I have that tendency, I want to taste everything. That's my excuse. But I realize that's very bad for my digestion. So then I go into it thinking, okay, I'm going to pick 2 of these kinds of entrees, 1 salad, 1 grain. Good. Done. So if you go there remembering God, you can place your appetite under the control of reason. He knew that appetite would be man's idol and would lead him to forget God and would stand directly in the way of his salvation. Can you believe that? That's extremely sobering, isn't it? That our appetite, our lack of control of appetite may lead directly to the loss of our salvation. Ooh. We don't have to tell people that if you eat meat, you will not go to heaven. We don't have to say that. You're eating milk and cheese, you're a bad Christian. No, you don't have to say any of that. The reality is that what stands directly in the way of our salvation is self. Wanting to do things my way. Not caring about God's way. Oh yeah, God said that, but can't be that bad for you. What is it doing? Oh, a little bit of meat. Ooh. Sugar. Oh, come on. Everyone eats it. It's cheaper. White bread, white flour is cheaper than wholemeal. You know, what's the big deal? It's about, are we surrendering to the Lord, or are we doing things our own way? This is the crux of the matter. All right, so you've started fasting. And there's different types of fasting that we're going to see. There's strict water fasting, where it's only water and nothing but water. But when people are doing water fasting, and if they start getting dizzy and lightheaded, then sometimes we'll ask them to put a little bit of salt in their water just to balance out their electrolytes. Right now you're doing fruit fasting, and there's something called porridge fasting. We just use white rice porridge, cook the rice with a little extra water. This is for people with digestive problems. So when people have stomach ulcers, gastritis, etc., we have them on a porridge fast, and they take the charcoal and olive oil mixture. And just in 3 days or 5 days of doing this, their ulcers can be totally healed. In India, we met this man, and we were telling him about this, and he said, well, I don't think I have an ulcer, but every time in the morning I brush my teeth, I want to vomit. And so we knew straight away he has some kind of digestive problem. And so that evening we gave him the charcoal and olive oil mixture. So it's 1 teaspoon of charcoal powder with 2 tablespoons of cold pressed extra virgin olive oil. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 teaspoon of charcoal, activated charcoal powder. And the next morning he said, I went to brush my teeth and I didn't feel like vomiting. So this is an incredible natural remedy that's very simple, that helps people so much. And then we have something called the temperance fast, where you eat smaller portions of a healthy meal. So right now the kids are on a temperance fast, but they don't know it. They're just eating what we are giving them. So I don't know if they're complaining about hunger. Anyone complaining about hunger? No? You did? Okay. Well, teach them how to chew. Is he okay? Or is he okay? Or is he?
Fine. I
Okay.
just reminded him he needs to drink his water.
Yes, good, good. Remind them to drink water, especially sometimes when they're hungry, they're dehydrated, actually. So as parents, you really need to be on top of your kids as far as drinking the water. The time to drink water, the amount to drink water. If you just say drink water, you have no idea. You know, as kids, when we went to school, they told us, drink 9 glasses of water, right? Do you remember hearing that? Something like that, 8 to 9 glasses of water? I heard it, went in one ear, went out the other. I never counted how many glasses of water I drank. It was only just like 5 years ago when I met Mrs. Choi to come up with a system where I could actually calculate how much I'm drinking. And it's like revolutionary. It's putting into practice, having a little accountability. So every day when I know I've drunk 3 of these, then I know I've drunk 3 liters and I've drunk enough. All right? And when I don't drink enough, I feel it. I feel it. I feel thirsty. I don't feel well. You'll notice. You'll notice. All right. So the purpose of fasting is to allow your body to rest. Maybe for your whole life, you've been eating whatever you want. You've been eating meat. You've been eating cheese. You've been eating butter and eggs and, drinking milk and eating fast food, Macca's and Hungry Jack's and KFC. And you've been, eating all the processed food, all people like Maggie, the noodles, and chips and cookies, biscuits, and you name it. And when that's part of our lifestyle, it's becoming part of our blood. The food that we eat turns into the nutrients that go into our blood, and that blood is going to all the cells and organs in our body. So based upon what kind of nutrients you're putting inside your body, that's what the inside of your body is being composed of. So are you a cheeseburger or are you broccoli? Just kidding. What you are, what you eat. And you know, the interesting thing is, the crazy thing is, man, Satan is very smart and cunning. He makes everything that's bad for you extremely tasty and addictive, cheap. Ooh. When I go to third world countries, I look at all the kids, they're not eating like bananas and mangoes. I mean, they do that as well. But on the street, I see all of these packaging of all the chips and the biscuits and everything that you can imagine. And they're just eating that because the parents didn't have money, right? But that's even cheaper than buying fruits and vegetables. Man, can you believe this is the deception that Satan has cast upon us? And then when you get older and you're hanging out with friends, you're like, let's go to KFC, let's go to Domino's, you know? And then you're like, oh, I don't want to eat that. What's wrong with you? You know, like this is the best tasting thing ever out there. Or you know what, everyone's doing it. So there's a lot of peer pressure. But what are you putting into your body? What you're putting into your body is reflective of what kind of diseases are coming out. You know that we know what the cause of all disease is? What is the cause of all disease? Not drinking water? No, but that is a very big factor for causing disease. It said most diseases begin because of dehydration. But I heard it over here. What's the cause of all disease? Sin. All disease is caused by sin. Whether it's because you commit sin and you're eating junk, or you're living the wrong lifestyle, breaking all the health laws, sleeping late, you know, eating whatever you want, not exercising, not drinking water, like those, yes, also contribute. But sin in this world causes problems, right? They could be genetic deformities. They can be other things that are passed on, right? Everything that is a disease, all suffering is caused by sin. Now, whether it's our fault directly or whether it's passed on, regardless, it is our responsibility and our privilege to be able to change our lifestyle. So even if it's passed down from our parents or whatever, from the generations before, we can do something to stop it now. Let's say that your parents or your grandparents, whatever, they were alcoholics. Well, you can stop that generational curse. That doesn't have to pass on to your children. So with you, if you say and you learn, oh, alcohol is bad, it's destroying my brain cells, and it's not allowing me to know God, and you stop now, then guess what? With your children, you've stopped that problem. Diabetes. Oh, my grandmother had it. My uncle had it. My mom had it, whatever. And so, oh, I just can't help it. Well, you might always have that tendency. You might be prone to getting diabetes, but if you follow God's ways, then you can manage it. You can prevent it. So, our bodies are resting right now from not only all the foods that we used to eat, but also from the lifestyle that we used to live. Everything's different, isn't it? Yeah? Yes? Everything's different, and people are experiencing maybe something very new. And it might take a little bit of time to adjust, but I hope that you can experience the incredible benefits. Feeling better, diabetes going down, blood pressure going down, weight, excess weight going down, feeling lighter, feeling more energetic, having a clear mind. So fasting is flushing out all the stuff in your body that was waste that's been accumulated, and also toxins in your body. Now your stomach doesn't have to work so much, right? You're only giving it a little bit of food. And so it says, oh, okay, man, I only have this much food to digest. All right, now I've got some time and energy to go to all the different corners of my body and see if there's anything that I need to repair or to clean out. Okay? So then what's happening is the deep cleaning. You know, every year in America, we say we have spring cleaning. So when it's opposite here, isn't it? So in the spring, it's warm and nice after you come from the long winter, and then you feel motivated to clean. Oh, that's what's happening inside. Now, like going to all the cracks and crevices and cleaning out all the waste, get rid of it, burn it out, And so then as you are drinking all this water, that's helping to flush out all that waste and all the toxins. As you're walking, as you're exercising, this is contributing to the lymphatic fluids being able to circulate. And the lymphatic system helps you to get rid of waste. Imagine if you're doing the fasting, drinking water, but you're not exercising, you're not walking. Well, then the lymphatic system is not activated and you're just kind of like keeping the waste in. But the waste now, all the toxins are going to be coming out. Your pores, you're going to have, different kind of waste coming out. Some people who have not had proper bowel movements in years, they've got like black waste stuck in the walls of their intestines. And then as they've experienced this fasting, all that comes out. Imagine being there for years and years, or I don't know how long it's been there. Comes out really rotten, putrid, smelly. Some people who have had problems with like digestion, they might vomit. They might have diarrhea. Different things, because the body is working to cleanse and to heal. Imagine your sink, your kitchen sink, and imagine you're cooking with lots of oil and meat and other things. What happens if you just leave the sink there and never clean the sink? After a few days, weeks, months, what happens? Smelly, gross, bacteria, what else? It clogs. Do you know, like when you feel it, you feel that film? It's kind of gooey, slimy. All right? And then you might clean your sink and it's clean, but how about the pipe that's coming down? Have you ever looked down in the pipe? Oh, you see that slime building up? You see that gunk building up? And if it builds up long enough, there's hardly any space for the water to go down. So this is what's happening to your blood vessels. So your blood vessels, they might be having different fat deposits and other things just building up, lining the blood vessels. And so then it's reducing the size. It might be hardening the blood vessels, like different things that our lifestyles are causing to happen. And then finally, the diameter becomes so small that the blood can't go through, and then you have a heart attack, a stroke. This is what's happening. But now, as you're doing this fast, and you're doing exercise, drinking water, everything, then it's cleaning out all the waste. And now your blood vessels are expanding to the normal size. And that's why people who are taking blood pressure medicine, diabetes medicine, they don't have to take their medicine, because this experience of fasting and all of this together is doing the same work that the medication is doing. So, your bodies are going through some major cleaning right now. So, but as we are doing this physical fast, we want to make it go parallel together with a spiritual fast. And during these 10 days, you're going to learn that the physical things in this world, they are very parallel with the spiritual things of God. All right? So the way to healing is parallel to the way of salvation. The way of death and destruction is very parallel to the way of sin and destruction. Very parallel. So we're going to learn more and more about that. So spiritual fasting is turning to God and experiencing confession and repentance and that complete surrender. So during this time of fasting, I want to encourage you all to seek God with all of your heart. Don't let anything distract you. Spend extra time with Him. If you need to go out to the bush or wherever by yourself, in your car, just to have some alone time or something with God, do it. If you need time, in your room to spend with God, seeking and searching for Him, He says, if you seek me and search for me with all your heart, then you will find me. Don't lose out on this opportunity. We're going to be talking about eating by faith and cooking by faith, but now we are fasting by faith. All right? So that's where prayer comes in. Turn to the Lord. We're doing a fruit fasting right now, and as you can see, in each meal we are just using one fruit. It's the best for digestion. And then you rotate the different fruit at each meal, and if necessary, you can repeat the same fruit after one full day. Right? Some places they don't have a big variety of fruit, so then you can do apples in the morning, bananas for lunch, oranges for dinner, and then repeat the next day. Apples for breakfast, bananas for lunch, oranges for dinner, etc. That's okay. And then as we are doing fasting, we don't use the fatty fruits. We don't do the fasting on like durian or avocado. We don't do fasting with coconut. Just use the basically watery fruits. We don't. The whole purpose is the cleansing. So the fat clogs things up. So we don't use that. Then next, don't use pineapple for fruit fasting. So pineapple, we shouldn't eat it alone. So we should always eat it together with some food. Pineapple has an enzyme called bromelain, and that is an enzyme that eats up protein. So what happens is if you don't have anything else, it can eat up the lining of your stomach. There's a story of a Korean pastor who went to study in the Philippines, and Korea doesn't have any of this tropical fruit, right? And so he was having a heyday eating mangoes and bananas and durian and pineapple. He ate lots of it. He went back home like a year later, got a checkup, found out his stomach lining was like eaten up because he kept eating lots and lots of pineapple without eating other foods. So be very careful with pineapple. Always eat pineapple together with foods. Even in the world, right? Give you pineapple when you eat steak or something like meat because it helps to digest the protein. All right? Okay, so we already talked about putting salt in your water if you're doing a longer fast or if you're doing water fasting to balance your electrolytes. All right, so this is really important. Fasting is actually easy compared to recovery meals. So after you finish fasting, then we enter into recovery meals and we start increasing the food bit by bit. Now, when you're having a water fast, so if you do 3 days of water fasting or so, the first meal will just be like 1 spoon of rice. And I'm talking about like just a dinner spoon, not a paddle, not a serving spoon. And because when you do fasting for a long period of time, water fasting for a long period of time, 3 days or longer, then your stomach thinks, oh, there's a famine in the land, and there's drought, and my master is not going to give me any food, so I better conserve energy. So it conserves the energy and doesn't allow the digestive system to function. So instead of producing the stomach acids and stuff, it kind of rests and relaxes. So then if you suddenly put in food, it's not ready. So then what we do is we just give that 1 spoon of brown rice and then have them chew and chew and chew and chew until it becomes liquefied. So that's simply a signal to the stomach saying, stomach, get ready. From now on, I'm going to give you food, so start producing the acids. And then we increase bit by bit. Maybe the next meal, 2 spoons of rice and then some cooked vegetables, etc. That's from water fasting, so you don't have to be afraid. For fruit fasting, what we'll do is we'll transition from that bowl of fruit, right, to a similar amount of food that's cooked and with a little bit of the raw as well. And then we'll increase bit by bit until you get to the right amount of food. Okay, so the thing is, once you start eating cooked foods, your appetite kicks in really, really strong. I don't know, for some reason, like fasting is pretty easy. You're like, okay, it's manageable. I'm a little hungry. But then suddenly you start eating the cooked foods and then, by, 10 o'clock, you're like, I want more food. I want more food. So it's going to take a little bit of discipline, lots of prayer, lots of water, and to get through this recovery meal period. So Sana is Mrs. Choi's eldest daughter. And she spent like 30 years like cooking for, her mom and for the Bethel Sanitarium. And one day she had gained weight and she said, I want to lose 10 kilos. And if you do water fasting, that's the fastest way to lose weight. Usually you lose about 1 kilo per day. And then for fruit fasting, you usually lose about half a kilo per day. So she said, okay, I'm going to do water fasting for 10 days. She did it. Lost the 10 kilos, and then she's supposed to be doing the recovery meals, right? Mm-hmm. But she was still working as the head cook at the sanitarium. She started tasting the food, and she could not control her appetite. And so within, the next maybe week and a half, 2 weeks, she gained 13 kilos. So she was over 3 kilos that she started with, and she went through all this pain of fasting. So notice and take note of this, right? So if you ever have somebody do fasting and recovery meals, that their appetite is going to kick in very strong. So it's really helpful to do a program like this, right? Where I say, sorry, this is the only amount of food you can eat. Then you're like, some people are like, but then they don't eat anymore, and so then it's regulated for you. Now, Korea is a country that became Christian, and it's probably about 50% Christian. But Koreans are really, really like very devout, very passionate people. And middle-aged Christian women especially, they love to go into the mountain to these prayer retreats and go for 4 or 5 days, maybe once a month or once every 2 months. And they'll go pray and they'll fast. But they don't know about recovery meals. So somebody told me that there's a statistic that there are so many of this demographic that has digestive disorders. And so my thought is, it's because they don't know how to do recovery meals. Imagine they're doing this every month, fasting. They come home and gorge on whatever food. And then the last story is a really sobering story. Someone went to go fast for 1 week at the Buddhist temple, did the fast, no problem. And then on his way home, there was a very famous chicken porridge shop. And so he's like, it's not world famous, but famous throughout the country. I gotta go. And so he went, he got a big bowl of this chicken porridge, and meat is probably the most hardest thing to digest. And he probably had some digestive problems before to begin with. But that night, he couldn't recover from his digestive problems. He couldn't digest, and he had problems, had to go to the hospital. He actually ended up passing away. So you can see that this recovery process is so important. It couldn't even be, life-threatening. So I try to warn people and tell them to be very careful with this process. All right? Okay. You guys doing all right? You guys need a little break? Bathroom break? Yeah? Okay. Well, let's take a little bit of a break. How about that? Get some fresh air, do some stretching, wake up, And let's come back in 10 minutes. 12:20.